Hi, everybody. Welcome to the new normal. I'm your host, Lisa Davis, aka Litecoin Lisa, and I want to get started right away. I'm wondering if we are close to those days that Uncle Cliff talked about reaching that unobtainium for silver and gold. We'll be right back with Andy right after this. Hi, Andy. Welcome back. Thanks for making a few minutes for us here.
Of course.
I don't know what just happened. It just started playing my thing. It's not on. Okay, that's really weird.
I see you.
It's not playing anywhere, but can you hear that?
No, I hear you though.
Okay, you couldn't hear that music playing?
I did at first.
Okay, I'm sorry. Sorry, hold on. I have something on somewhere. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry, you guys.
Don't be silly, you're all good.
Okay, I'm gonna have to take that out of my head. Yeah, I don't know. I have it open somewhere else and it's playing back to me in my head. So I'm sorry about that. I thought it was my software, streaming software. I don't know what else I have open. Sorry about that. Anyway, so you have been really busy. We weren't sure if we were going to be able to do the show today. Trying to put out fires, trying to get people's orders filled. I heard your interview with Chris Marcus on Arcadia Economics. You were working until 1:30 at night, trying to help people.
It's really been saying what's happened. I have never quite experienced anything like this, Lisa. You know, during Silver Squeeze, we had a bunch of people that were motivated by making money, call it greed, where they were capitalizing on AMC and GameStop. People are scared, really, 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 really scared right now. And I think it's palpable. You can feel it. And there's a difference in people's motivation. You know, Silver Squeeze was unlike anything I had seen to that point. What I witnessed over the last 2 days is extraordinary, and people are terrified. And I think there is no greater motivation than fear. And we have in 2 days done more business than we typically do in a month. That's how crazy it's been. So I think this is very real. What the Federal Reserve has done, what the government has done, in my opinion, all that signals the end of the dollar as we know it. And, you know, I think that they have chosen inflation over austerity, over the banks. And they signal that the quantitative tightening is over, and they're going to let inflation destroy the value of the currency. And when you put that in context with all the things that I've been talking about for the last 3 years, primarily this coalition of countries joining together in BRICS, plus the 60 countries that are lined up to join in with them, the 150 countries on the Belt Road Initiative, the 60% human population in the Shanghai Cooperation Organization and the Eurasian Economic Union. You're talking 85% of human population that is looking for reasons to not stay in dollars and to strike other relationships. And you can see this by the fact that in 2022, more gold was purchased by the central banks than at any time since 1967, the second most in history. They see what's coming, and it's as if we are trying to destroy the dollar by doing this. And the decisions that this country continues to make, whether it be weaponizing the dollar, whether it be by giving $114 billion to the Ukraine, including pensions for their government employees, when there's a $1.75 trillion pension shortfall here in the United States, and $5 billion to protect our border, build a wall is too much. 5 million people enter this country illegally and are poisoning our kids with fentanyl is absolutely asinine. And it's upside down completely and totally in a country where Social Security is $77 trillion underfunded, according to their last balance sheet. Student debt is the largest asset in the United States, according to their balance sheet of 31% of assets in this country. It's absolutely unbelievable what they're doing. And they are bailing out the banks. They say, you know, hey, this won't have anything, the taxpayers won't have to pay it, which is a bunch of crap. And I think they're scared shitless. And the time to be scared is when they tell us not to worry, that they've got this covered. That's exactly when it's time to be frightened. And yeah, the taxpayer may not pay for it through bailouts, but we will pay for it through inflation. And I think quantitative tightening is done. And they have signaled that they have chosen the banks and the economy, what is left of it, over the dollar. And, you know, I think it's important to understand that how this all happened. And I don't know if people have given it much thought, but, you know, maybe I'll talk about it for a minute or two and answer any questions that people have. But, you know, when you make a deposit into the bank, that deposit is not an asset of the bank, it's a liability. And what the banks need to do then to offset that liability is to buy an asset. And those assets are typically bonds, U.S. Treasuries and mortgage-backed securities that for the past 10, 15, 20 years have been trending lower and lower and lower. So their balance sheets are loaded with bonds at 2.5%, 3%. And now rates are up at 4 and 5%. So those bonds have been halved. They're cut in half. Now the government allows the banks to mark those at par, meaning what they bought them for, not what they're really valued at. And so what happens is, because during COVID, Biden allowed these banks to relinquish or get rid of all the reserve requirements. So the banks have very little currency on hand to meet consumer demands. And if there's even a small run on the bank, it's forced to sell its bonds at huge losses, because remember, they're all at 2 and 3%. Now with bonds at 5%, you're going to get 50 cents on the dollar for those bonds. So massive losses. And what that means is, when they're forced to liquidate the bonds to meet these demands for withdrawals, if the demands for withdrawals are large enough, it can render a bank insolvent in 24 hours. And we saw that. And the FDIC and their insurance is a scam. They back up 0.03% of all bank deposits. 0.03. Yeah. 125 billion in money backing 9.5 trillion in deposits. That's not insurance at all. That's a scam. So what they had to do, in other words, is the only way to save the depositors was to monetize the bank and print money to make them solvent while destroying the value of the currency. And they were left, you know, when was the last time the Fed, the Treasury, and the FDIC met on a Sunday night? Never. And so they did, and they said, do we save the banks or the dollar? And they've spoken. They're going to save the banks, and the dollar's dead. Before this all happened, there were $620 billion in unrealized losses, on the balance sheets of the banks, because they are allowed to mark this stuff at par, not at real mark-to-market value. And when they have to sell them to meet demands for depositors, think of Credit Suisse, which I've been talking about for weeks. They had $1 billion pulled out the fourth quarter alone, depositor money, and they're circling down the drain right now. So this is a very scary
national deal. Or let's see, there was just an article that came out that where is it? The Credit Suisse ignites fresh bank turmoil as Saudis decline funding. There was an update though that what was it? That Swiss National Bank will bail out Credit Suisse if needed, it says.
You want to hear yeah, well,
so what does that do?
Here's what's really funny about that, and how putrid our media is. A few weeks ago, the Federal Reserve gave $20 billion to the Swiss Credit Bank, which is the second largest bank in the world. So, and why is the Federal Reserve giving the second largest bank in the world in Switzerland, the Swiss Credit Bank, $20 billion, who then laid off 9,000 workers, and they're this close to going bankrupt? And now the Swiss National Bank is going to bail out Credit Suisse, but not the Swiss National Bank. this continuum of bailouts and screwing with Mother Nature is only going to make it that much worse. And this is what happens when you suppress interest rates for a very long period of time and let not the market control the interest rates, but the bankers, who then create these massive distortions in asset prices, where stocks, bonds, and real estate have epic runs. And when a bond market has epic runs and the bond prices go up, that means the interest rates go down. And so with all of these bonds at low interest rates, as rates rise, they become eviscerated. As rates rise, the stocks become eviscerated. Real estate becomes eviscerated. Rising rates is exactly the worst thing that you can do to stocks, bonds, and real estate. But what happens when the rest of the world, who is now coalescing together against the West, decides to dump dollars? What happens when Saudi Arabia, who is being protected by Russia, signed a joint military agreement with them, joined the BRICS nations, has told the world that they are open to taking other currencies for oil, decides to actually do that with OPEC? All 13 OPEC countries are on the Belt Road Initiative. Saudi Arabia has joined the BRICS nations. Officially, they have applied to the BRICS nations. When you put the BRICS along with the Belt Road, along with the Shanghai Cooperation Organization and the Eurasian landmass, it's almost 90% of humanity who is not going green. We are. We're destroying their way of life. And not only that, we're destroying the value of the dollar and the value of treasuries. So why would they want anything to do with us? They won't. They don't. They're moving away from us. And when they ignite that fuse or light that switch or whatever you want to say, when they say, we're done taking dollars for oil exclusively anymore. Remember, every country on the planet has had to own dollars for the last 50 years to buy oil. And when that happens and those dollars get dumped and interest rates spike to the moon, doesn't matter what the Fed does. These banks will collapse. The bond market will collapse. The stock market will collapse. This is the beginning of the end for the US dollar as a world reserve currency. We have just told the world that we are not going to impose austerity. We are not going to get our house in order. We are going to continue to choose inflation over these tough decisions and not let the Mother Nature or the forest fire clear the underbrush. You know, it's sad when there's a forest fire. You feel bad for the trees and the animals and everything. You come back 3 years later and it's stronger and healthier than ever. And that's what we didn't let happen. And we did it again. And we aren't learning from our mistakes. It's as if they are purposely trying to destroy the dollar, whether it be by weaponizing it and making all of the world say, are we going to be what happened to Russia? Is that going to be us next? Or by making brain dead monetary policy and destroying the value of the dollar through continually printing and borrowing and creating money that we don't have. What just happened, I think, has woken up a good portion of this country. And when you see states like Wyoming and Missouri and Idaho and Kansas and Tennessee that are talking about and actually passing laws within their state legislature to allow gold and silver to be held in the treasuries of these states and to be used as legal tender in Missouri and in Wyoming and on the docket in Kansas, you're talking about a mass awakening in this country. And it will, I think, create a massive run on the banks. Now, someone just came here who works for me, and he said he came here in a panic. He lives in my neighborhood, and he said, a client of mine tried to get her money released from I don't want to say which it was a broker dealer, and they won't release it. They told him, you're going to get screwed by buying gold, and they will not release her money, and they're not returning her. I had a financial advisor.
Is that an investment bank that's refusing?
It's not an investment bank. It's a brokerage. I had another client call me yesterday, a financial advisor, who said, we went to the bank to send the wire for our client, and they asked her 70 questions. And finally, they said, no, we're not going to wire it. We're not satisfied with where you're sending it. They are not trying to not let the money go. This is the real deal right now. And I think people need to wake up and realize that this is unlike anything I've ever seen in 33 years of being in business.
That's incredible. What are you seeing as far as the individuals that are reaching out to you that are purchasing? Are they purchasing gold or silver or both? Is it and what's the supply like for you? Are you still able to have a strong supply?
We did
available?
more business in the last 2 days than we do in a month, typically. Millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars worth. And yes, we still have some. I bought everything that wasn't nailed down over the last, few months, premium or so. And now we've sold a lot of it. I have more coming in. Yes, we have product, and the premiums haven't taken off yet, which I can't believe. I really can't.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I would have thought they would have taken off incredibly today. They haven't. They will, but it's still a good time to be buying as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, you sent me a promo that to share for our.
Yeah, those should be a whole hell of a lot higher. They really should be. But I'm honoring them until they're gone.
Yeah, you guys can email info@milesfranklin.com. Tell them like Quinn Lisa sent you, and you'll get this special deal for our community. It's 1 ounce silver Krugerrands. He did put limited supply on there because this is where we are. Only $3.79 over spot right now. So in Uncle Cliff's data, he talks about reaching a point of unobtainium for silver. Do you see that in the near future? Do you feel like that could happen?
I do. I mean, I've been saying that forever. I get a lot of shit for it. I do. I've been saying we will define this industry by the inability to source product because 0.5% allocation across the entire financial matrix of this country has silver. 0.5%. That's it. So what happens if it's 10%? That's a 20-fold increase. Financial advisors tell people, okay, get 5%, which is woefully under allocated, but they don't make money on it. So they say, okay, 5%. Well, 5% would be a 10-fold increase. 10%, a 20-fold increase. It's all gone. And it's not just the US that is having these problems. The European banks are blowing up. South Africa, Australia, United Kingdom, Austria, 4 of the 6 major mints are across the Atlantic. We're competing with everyone who's waking up to what fiat currencies really are. They all are, all fall to their intrinsic value, which is of paper. It's worth 0. All fiat currencies inherently are meant to die, and they all do. There's never been one that has lasted. Gold and silver are money. The dials, wallets are currency. They will be hanging from a frame in the Smithsonian someday as an example of what was. This is the real deal, Lisa, and I hate being this way. I hate being the
I'm glad you're
purveyor
telling the truth and telling everybody. I mean, you've been telling everybody for years, and Bix and a lot of, have been, screaming the warning, and now the time is here. And you're putting the hours in and the time in and all the work to help everybody with that bridge to safety, and education. I think that's so important. Light Shadow brings up a good point. And with that story, not only the way that they're bailing out the depositors and everyone's running to this centralized source, all the talking heads are telling everyone, go to JP Morgan, go to JP Morgan. Now we're centralizing our banking industry, which is really dangerous for the people, I think. And they're the people that they are bailing out. They're doing it through the Treasury, like you said, with money printing through the Fed.
If you look at JP, if you Google derivative positions of U.S. banks, they're number one. They have the like $54 trillion in derivatives. Go to JP Morgan, and if the whole system goes down, they're at the top of the heap. Yes, they're too big to fail. Are they going to be bailed out? Maybe. But what does that mean?
What happens if they do fail then? If they are too big to fail?
Well, that just means that you've destroyed. How do you back up 54 trillion in derivatives when the Fed's balance sheet is 9 trillion and they're already insolvent? I mean, how? You don't. Mother Nature will win the game in the end. You cannot continue to buck the laws of nature through manipulation and suppression and papering it over with immoral money that is created out of the ether with no work, no sweat. What gold is proof of work. And out of the ground. And that's why gold is money. And what they are doing by creating more and more and more currency to backstop these banks is only diluting. Pour yourself a vodka tonight when you want to relax, and then after pour it in a giant glass like this, do 2 shots in a glass and then fill the rest with water and see what it tastes like. Probably be able to chug it. Won't taste much like vodka, but that's exactly what's happening to the dollar.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, that's what I
that
was trying to explain to my little boy. I said it was like I said, "So pretend like you built a house on Minecraft, and so it has value, right? You can, like, trade it, you can sell it to your friends, whatever." I said, "And then you go to sleep tonight, and nobody else is allowed to build on Minecraft. And you so how valuable is that house?" And he's like, "Oh, yeah." He's all excited, you know? And then I said, "And then you wake up tomorrow, and there's 10 houses all around you." And he's like, "Wait
bigger.
a minute. That's not fair. I didn't give them permission to do they can't do that." And I said, "That's what they're doing to our money." And he was like, "Can I get rid of this?" You know, he wants to get rid of all his dirty fiat, and he wants silver, and he wants Litecoin, and, so he's actually selling his toys right now. He's planning a garage sale this weekend to get more dirty fiat to be able to buy some silver this weekend was his plan after I told him we were meeting. So,
It's
mhm.
it is I don't know. I think he's smart, and I think more people should wake up to that and look at gold and silver as wealth. And as
Yeah.
you know, do you think there's any coincidence that the central banks bought more gold last year than in any time since '67, the second most in history? That isn't a coincidence. It's not.
And
Uh,
that was after that the gold was changed. Was it
to a
gold?
tier one reserve asset.
Yes.
That's right. And you know, you look at Turkey, who bought 23 tons of gold in January, the most that the Swiss refineries have ever sent in a month. So you know, the numbers from January to December are up 192% month over month increase by the central banks. So you know, the biggest money, the closest money to the information is de-dollarizing before it becomes obvious to everyone else in this country. It just
Mhm.
is. It's happening. And this is the scariest I've ever seen it ever in my 33-year career. This puts Silver Squeeze to shame in terms of demand. And I'll be up till 1 a.m. again tonight, guaranteed.
Yeah. Is there something if people run into a problem, getting banks to release their money, is that something they can I guess if they're already emailing with you, there's things you can probably do to help them or, um,
I don't know what I can
are
do
there
to get this
laws
done. I
about
truly
that?
don't. I mean, I told my broker, Kevin, I said, call the branch manager. He says, it is the branch manager. And he's not
Oh,
answering the phone. I mean, this is unbelievable. I think they're
things are
trying to
happening
stave
now
off
that have
runs
never
on these banks.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. That's incredible. Well, you guys, you know, we've been telling everybody, and I know everybody here tries to pass that information along to their friends and family, you know, to that this, and Andy, you've told us from the beginning, this is about preserving your wealth for the future. Right now, our country's in a crisis. Um, the dollar's dying, and it's time to preserve your family's wealth, take care of your friends and family. And you can do that through hard assets like gold and
100%.
silver.
And that's what it is. It is exactly what it is. It's about preservation. It's wealth. You own
Mhm.
enough, you'll be wealthy, but it is not something that you buy to get wealthy. It's to get out of the way of what's coming down the pike right now.
Yeah. So if you don't want yours to blow away. I think about the 3 little pigs, you know, and wake up tomorrow and your house is blown away because of what they're doing, to all of us. Because, you know, we've done the studies about or we've done the education about, you know, what is money? Well, it's a store of your energy or your labor to be used later. Well, if they're printing it up to infinity, then they're spending our time and energy. And like you said, the Social security system is basically bankrupt.
$76 trillion.
Yeah,
A trillion
no
seconds ago.
one's coming to save you.
Yeah, and a trillion seconds ago was 31,688 years ago. That's a trillion seconds. So we're 76 trillion in the hole um, on Social Security. So you know, take 31,688 and multiply it times 76. That's how many seconds ago. I mean, well, years ago, it would
Yeah.
be in seconds. I mean, it's so big you can't even fathom it. You're talking before the Earth was created. Numbers are so big they'll never be paid off. And as rates rise, it only makes it crumble that much faster. And you're seeing this all start to happen.
When will this start affecting the silver paper markets?
You could argue that it's
Okay.
going to start happening very, very, very soon. I mean, I really think it's going to, you can only suppress a market by pushing it in the direction that it's going over an extended period of time. And, you know, for all these years, no one understood the reason to buy gold and silver, because they would suppress the price, and
Right.
price is the greatest tool to misdirect the public. Well, I think the public is waking up now. You can see that by Wyoming and Kansas and Missouri and Idaho. The representative from Idaho stood on the House floor a few weeks ago and said, we need to tell our people in Idaho to do what the central banks are doing: buy gold and silver. We need to make it legal tender. It's in the Constitution. Something similar is happening in Wyoming and Missouri and Kansas, and these states are waking up, which means the people will wake up who have had no idea of what was been going on, and because our media doesn't tell them anything. You know, why doesn't our media tell us that the bank in Switzerland was given $20 billion by the Fed? Why didn't we hear that? Because the things that are really important that they don't want us to hear, that will create unintended consequences, like bank runs, like pulling out of the dollar, like chaos. They don't want that, and so they keep us in the dark. And so, you know, when will it go? It will go just like the banks went, on a Friday night or a Sunday morning, and you'll wake up and it'll be $300 an ounce or whatever it will be, and you won't find any. And that's how it'll go, because they've been suppressing the price for so long to drain the exchanges and accumulate the metal that, you know, let it run. And it will happen when we all missed it. And you'll wake up, you'll see gold at 3,500 and silver at $200. What are you going to do? What's the public going to do? They'll think, oh, geez, we missed it.
I remember a friend telling me that had a very knowledgeable friend with another very knowledgeable friend on the inside that said, when it goes, it will go so fast. Once it's over like $50, it will be hundreds of dollars, not within days or weeks, but within hours, possibly.
Yeah, I agree. It sounds like something Uncle Cliff would say. I completely and totally agree. I do. And that's just like how a bank went bankrupt in 24 hours and we woke up Sunday morning, it would have been, you know, Monday morning gone. That's how it's going to happen. And that's why you need to be proactive in anything. You don't blow up your life raft once you're sinking. You have a life raft tethered to the boat, so that if it does happen, you jump into your life raft and there you go. You need to be proactive. And what is the biggest money in the world doing? The central banks are being proactive when everyone is blinded by a suppressed price. The big money is accumulating it. And that's the thing to keep in mind.
Yeah. Light Shadow asks, how many more silver derivatives could be created? Do you know?
Who knows? There's a
Is that
$250 billion in derivatives right now. I mean, there's enough derivatives to blow up the entire financial system 100 times over.
Okay. So that's not where the price discovery will happen. It's that people will realize what's going on with physical metal.
The derivatives are what mask the price discovery.
Okay.
And when you talk about the value of derivative, it's based upon the counterparty's ability to perform. So if one company blows up and it has, like the Silicon Valley Bank was the 33rd largest derivative position in the country, $27 billion. Who did they have derivatives with? What would that have done to the other banks whose values of their derivatives are tied to those that just went bankrupt? So it's a daisy chain. It's a systemic daisy chain. Just like I've been telling everyone, the November meeting of the Systemic Resolution Advisory Committee of the FDIC told us this. That video that leaked out, I've been begging everyone to go watch it for weeks now. The November meeting of the FDIC Systemic Resolution Advisory Committee. I've talked about it on every podcast for the past month. And they told us it's going to happen, and it's obvious that it is. So I don't know, Lisa. These are crazy times.
Yeah, these are
interesting times. That's a Chinese curse. May you live in interesting times.
Well, today is March 15th, so beware the Ides of March. Chat GPT was calling that this would be the destruction of the markets, or Wall Street markets would crash. We're seeing that, as well as the rest of the bank.
It really does. I mean, since I've been on with you, I mean, it's just nonstop. The number of messages I'm getting, it's just nonstop. People are freaking out.
Yeah.
And all I can tell you with the greatest of sincerity is that for the first time in my career, I'm frightened. I went and emptied $400,000 of my own money out of U.S. Bank and bought gold with it. And I own one of the largest metals companies in America, and I've been buying gold and silver every 2 weeks for 33 years. I am not the poster child for Finance 101, but I don't see any place that's safe right now. And if you're not seeing this, if you think that people are fear mongering or as we were talking about off air, I mean, this is a time to wake up. You know, everyone says, well, everything gets better. And oh, wait, when everything crashed, the Fed's balance sheet was $850 billion. It's $9 trillion right now. They loaded up over $8 trillion in mortgage-backed securities and treasuries to suppress interest rates. And what that did is created massive distortions in asset prices. And those asset prices are blowing up now as rates rise.
It never got better for us. They just numbed us and drug it out. And now the consequences are actually even worse. Andy,
tell Jim, there's no order minimum. Don't feel embarrassed. We're honored to have your business, brother, and whatever it is, and do what you can do. And there's no order minimums. I'm one of the few companies out there that doesn't have an order minimum. Do what you can do. We appreciate the trust.
Yeah. And they have great staff. Everybody is easy to work with. You guys can have great, like you said, you've got everybody on the team working right now, just full force. So it's a great time to.
It's crazy. It truly is. And but hey, you know, I've worked my whole life for a moment like this. I just wish that my success would come not at the expense of everyone I care about and love in this world. And I think it will. I think most people are going to be caught completely blindsided by what's here. I gave a Zoom presentation to a bunch of accredited investors 10 days ago. I said, how many people don't know what bail-ins are? And about 3/4 of the people raised their hands like this. So, you know, these are times where I think because of the lack of real reporting by the media that we're in big trouble. And it's people like you, Lisa, who are getting the real information out there. And God bless you for doing it. I'm happy to be part of it. But buckle up. I think it's the real.
Thank you. And thanks for partnering with me, bringing solutions to people. That's what we're all about. And I'm just really honored to work with you on this, and so happy to have a solution for people during this time. So you guys get your silver and gold from Andy. You can find more information in the description. Andy, I'll let you get back to work.
info@milesfranklin.com, info@milesfranklin.com. Tell them Lisa, and I promise that they will get the best price and the best service.
That's right. All right, you guys take care and get gold and silver in your own possession. Take care, Andy. Thank you.
Stay well, Lisa. I'll see you soon.
Okay.